He didn't recognize his son at first, 14 years since he walked away. Now, trapped in a hospital hallway, face to face with the boy who learned to live without him. What his child said next destroyed him, because some silences are louder than any apology you're too late to give. Welcome to Shadowed Passions, where every story cuts deep. Before we begin, drop a comment to tell us where you're watching us from, and please subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Now sit back and enjoy the story. 14 years. That's how long it had been since Daniel Carter stood in the same room as his ex-wife. 14 years since he signed those papers, packed 2 suitcases, and drove away from the life he'd built. 14 years since he'd held his son. And now, under the harsh fluorescent lights of St. Mary's Hospital, on a Tuesday night in October, all that distance collapsed into a single hallway. She saw him first. Her body went rigid. The way you freeze when you see a ghost. Because that's what he was to her. A ghost. A memory she'd worked hard to bury. But it was the boy who broke him. 13 years old, tall, his mother's eyes, laughing with a nurse about something Michael would never know. Living, breathing, thriving. Without him. This was the moment he'd rehearsed 1,000 times in his head. The apology, the explanation, the bridge back to the life he'd abandoned. But nothing prepared him for what his child would say next. Because some doors, once closed, can never be opened again. And some silences are louder than any words you were too late to say. His name is Daniel Carter, 42 years old, software engineer, remarried. 2 stepchildren who call him Dad. He lives 300 miles away from the son who shares his last name. Her name is Emily Carter. She kept his name, not out of love, out of spite, or maybe exhaustion. She never really said. She raised Noah alone. Every scraped knee, every parent-teacher conference, every birthday cake. Alone. And Noah, 13, quiet, smart, the kind of kid teachers call mature for his age. The kind of maturity that comes from learning early that some people leave and don't come back. Daniel thought time would soften the past. He believed silence was safer than conflict. That one day, when Noah was older, when the anger had faded, there'd be a door left open. But silence doesn't disappear. It waits. It grows. It becomes the story you tell yourself when the truth is too heavy to carry. So why did Daniel really leave after the divorce? What did Emily never tell Noah about the man who used to be his father? And why does Noah refuse even an apology? Because this story isn't about forgiveness. It's about choice. And some choices echo longer than a lifetime. Daniel and Emily met at a coffee shop in Portland. Not the cute kind of meeting, the real kind. She spilled her latte on his laptop. He laughed instead of yelling. She bought him another coffee. He stayed for 3 hours. That was 2009, back when Daniel was 26 and working 60-hour weeks at a tech startup that would fold within a year. Back when Emily was finishing her nursing degree and believed love could survive anything if you just tried hard enough. They got married in her parents' backyard. 30 people, string lights, a playlist instead of a DJ. Daniel's vows made her cry. He promised her he'd never stop trying. He promised her she'd never have to do life alone. For a while, he kept that promise. They moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in southeast Portland. Cracked tiles, radiator that clanged at night. But it was theirs. On Sundays, they'd walk to the farmer's market. Emily would buy flowers. Daniel would make her laugh by inventing ridiculous backstories for strangers. He was good at making her laugh back then. But Daniel carried something Emily didn't see at first. A weight. The kind passed down from a father who measured success in dollars and disappointment. Daniel's father had built a business from nothing, expected his son to do the same, expected excellence, demanded it. And Daniel was terrified he'd never be enough. So he worked, late nights, weekends, climbing toward a finish line that kept moving. Emily understood at first. She was working too, building her career. They were a team. But then came the pregnancy. Noah wasn't planned. Emily found out on a Thursday. She waited until Friday to tell Daniel. She'd bought a little pair of baby shoes, set them on the kitchen table, waited for him to notice. He came home at 11:30, microwaved leftovers, didn't see the shoes until she pointed them out. He smiled, hugged her, said all the right things. But Emily saw it, just for a second, the flicker of fear in his eyes. She told herself it was normal. Everyone's scared when they find out they're going to be parents. But Daniel's fear didn't fade. It grew. He started working even longer hours. Told Emily he needed to secure their future, needed to prove he could provide. She believed him, because she wanted to. Noah was born on a rainy Tuesday in March, 7 pounds, 4 ounces. Daniel was there. He held his son. He cried. He told Emily she was incredible. And for a few weeks, it felt like maybe everything would be okay. But babies don't sleep, and bills don't stop. And Daniel's father kept calling, asking when he was going to get serious about his career. The distance started small. Daniel staying late at work, missing dinner, coming home after Noah was already asleep. Emily tried to talk to him, tried to pull him back. But every conversation ended the same way. "I'm doing this for us. You're not even here." "I'm trying, Emily." "So am I." They didn't fall apart all at once. They cracked quietly, under expectations no one taught them how to carry. And then came the night Daniel said something he could never take back. Noah was 18 months old, the night it all came apart. Daniel came home just before midnight. Emily was sitting at the kitchen table. She'd been waiting. Again. Dinner cold on the stove. Again. Noah finally asleep after an hour of crying. Again. She didn't say hello, just looked at him. Tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. "We need to talk." 4 words. Daniel knew what they meant. He'd been expecting this conversation for months, dreading it, rehearsing his defense. But Emily didn't yell. That's what broke him. She didn't scream or throw things or demand answers. She just asked one question. "When did you stop wanting this?" Daniel told her she was being unfair, that he was working to build their future, that she didn't understand the pressure he was under. His voice rising, filling the small kitchen with all the frustration he'd been swallowing for months. And then he said it. "Maybe if you actually supported me instead of guilting me every time I walk through the door, I wouldn't dread coming home." The silence after those words was the loudest sound Emily had ever heard. She stood up, walked to the bedroom, came back with a suitcase she'd already packed. His suitcase. She'd known. Maybe not consciously, but somewhere deep down, she'd been preparing for this moment. "Get out." Daniel tried to apologize, tried to take it back. But Emily was done. Done fighting for a man who'd already left. Done begging someone to stay who clearly wanted to be anywhere but here. He moved into a friend's apartment that night, told himself it was temporary, just until things cooled down. Just until Emily calmed down and they could talk rationally. But Emily didn't want to talk. She filed for divorce 3 weeks later. The divorce papers weren't the moment he left. He'd been gone long before the ink dried. The custody arrangement was simple. Joint custody, weekends, holidays split, standard, clean, legal. Daniel saw Noah twice after the divorce was finalized. The first time, Noah was 2. He cried the entire visit, reached for Emily, didn't know this stranger holding him. Daniel gave him back after 20 minutes, told Emily maybe Noah was too young, maybe they should try again when he was older. The second time, Noah was 3. The visit went better. They went to a park. Daniel pushed him on the swings. Noah laughed. For a moment, Daniel thought maybe he could do this. Maybe he could be the dad he'd promised to be. But when he dropped Noah off, watching Emily scoop him up, seeing how naturally Noah melted into her arms, something in Daniel broke. He couldn't compete with that. Couldn't compete with the mother who'd been there for every moment. Who knew exactly how Noah liked his sandwiches cut. Who could calm him with just a look. So Daniel made a choice. He told himself he was giving them space. Told himself his presence was disruptive. Confusing for Noah, that maybe the kindest thing he could do was step back. Let Emily build a stable life without him hovering in the margins. He sent child support, every month, on time. That was something. That mattered. But he stopped calling, stopped asking for visits, stopped showing up. Space turned into months, months turned into years. Emily stopped expecting him at birthdays, stopped setting a place for him in her mind at all. She'd call and leave voicemails. Noah's starting preschool. Noah lost his first tooth. Noah asked about you today. The voicemails went unanswered, and then eventually she stopped calling too. Noah's 5th birthday. Emily baked a dinosaur cake, invited his friends from kindergarten, took pictures. Noah blew out the candles, made a wish. Emily asked what he wished for. I wished for a puppy. Not for his dad, not anymore. Parent-teacher conferences, school plays, soccer games, science fairs. Emily went to all of them, alone. She'd see other families, dads lifting kids onto their shoulders, two parents splitting the work, the worry, the wonder. And she'd cry in her car after, where Noah couldn't see. But she never let Noah see her break, never let him carry the weight of Daniel's absence. She just kept showing up, kept being enough, years stacked on years. Daniel moved on, new city, new job, met someone, Sarah, kind, uncomplicated. She had 2 kids from a previous marriage. Daniel became a stepfather, learned how to show up for school events, how to help with homework, how to be present. He was good at it, with kids who weren't his, but he never reached back toward the son who carried his name. What Daniel didn't know was that someone else was watching every door Noah walked through. If this story feels uncomfortably real, comment, "I'm still here." I want to know who's watching this with their heart, not just their eyes. Noah's 1st-grade teacher asked the class to draw their family. Most kids drew stick figures. Mom, dad. Dog, sibling, house with a triangle roof. Noah drew 2 people, him and his mom. Big smiles, holding hands. The teacher asked if he wanted to add anyone else. Noah looked at her, didn't understand the question. Like your dad? Noah thought about it, then shook his head. I don't have one. Emily got a call from the school that afternoon. The counselor, gentle voice, concerned, asked if everything was okay at home, if Noah was processing something. Emily assured her everything was fine. Noah wasn't processing anything, he was just drawing his world, the one he actually lived in. She didn't poison the well, she just stopped drawing water from it. When Noah asked about his father, Emily answered honestly, simply, "He lives far away." "Does he think about me?" "I'm sure he does, sweetheart." But she never elaborated. Never painted Daniel as a villain. Never used her son as a vessel for her anger. She just let the absence speak for itself. And absence is the loudest teacher, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th. The questions stopped coming. Noah stopped wondering about the man in the old photos Emily kept in a box in the closet. Stopped asking why other kids had dads at soccer games and he didn't. He just adapted. The way children do. He built a life around the shape of what was missing. 5th grade, school talent show. Noah played piano, a piece he'd taught himself on the keyboard Emily bought him for Christmas. Debussy, Claire de Lune. The auditorium was packed, parents recording on phones, kids fidgeting in seats. Emily sat in the 3rd row, alone, tears streaming down her face as her son's small hands moved across the keys. After, a father she didn't know approached her. "Your son is incredibly talented." "Thank you. His dad must be so proud." Emily smiled, the kind of smile that's really a shield. "I'm sure he would be." 300 miles away, Daniel was at a corporate retreat in San Diego. Team-building exercises on the beach. Trust falls, icebreakers. He was good at these, good at being present, engaged. That night his phone buzzed. Child support confirmation, automatic withdrawal. Same as every month. He stared at the notification, felt the familiar twist in his chest, the one he'd learned to ignore, to bury under meetings and projects and someone else's kid's homework. He thought about calling. It had been 4 years, maybe 5. He'd lost count. But what would he even say? He put the phone down, ordered another drink. Daniel's career flourished, senior engineer, then manager, then director, corner office, 6-figure salary. Everything his father said success should look like. He dated, seriously once, a woman named Jessica, marketing executive, smart, funny. They talked about moving in together, then she asked about his son. "Do you ever see him?" "It's complicated." "How is it complicated? He's your son." Daniel didn't have an answer that didn't make him sound like exactly what he was. Jessica left 3 months later. Then came Sarah. She was different, divorced, 2 kids, 7 and 9. She understood complicated, didn't push, didn't judge. Daniel met her kids, Ethan and Mia. Nervous at first, but they warmed up to him. Ethan asked Daniel to help with his science project. Mia invited him to her dance recital, and Daniel showed up. Every project, every recital, every parent-teacher conference Sarah asked him to attend. He learned their favorite foods, their bedtime routines, the way Ethan needed the closet light on to sleep, the way Mia hummed when she was concentrating. He was good at this, being a parent. When it wasn't his own son, the irony wasn't lost on him. Late at night, when Sarah and the kids were asleep, he'd sit in the kitchen, stare at his phone. Noah's birthday programmed in his calendar, a reminder he never deleted, never acted on. 13 years old now, a teenager. Daniel didn't know what Noah looked like anymore, didn't know if he still had Emily's eyes, didn't know his favorite subject in school, his friends' names, what he wanted to be when he grew up, didn't know if Noah ever thought about him, didn't know if that was better or worse than knowing. Back in Portland, Noah was thriving. On a roll, debate team, volunteer at the animal shelter on weekends. Emily's co-workers would ask about his father sometimes, new nurses who didn't know the story. Is your ex involved? No. Does he pay support? Yes. That must be hard. Emily would shrug. She'd stopped thinking of it as hard. It was just the shape of her life now. Single mother, sole parent, the only one standing in the gap. Noah never asked why his father sent money, but never called, never visited, never showed up. Some questions don't need answers. Some absences explain themselves. 7th grade, Noah's English teacher assigned an essay. Write about someone who shaped who you are. Most kids wrote about parents, grandparents, coaches. Noah wrote about his mom. 3 pages, single-spaced. About the woman who taught him to tie his shoes and solve for X. Who showed up to every game even when he spent the whole time on the bench. Who worked double shifts so he could go to science camp. The teacher gave him an A+. Wrote in red ink at the top, "Beautiful tribute, she's lucky to have you." Noah brought it home, showed Emily. She read it at the kitchen table, cried for the 4th time that year. Maybe the 5th. She'd stopped counting those too. "I love you so much, Noah." "I love you too, Mom." He didn't need anyone else. He had her, and she had him. That was enough. And then, one ordinary Tuesday, fate cornered them all. St. Mary's Hospital, Tuesday night, October 15th. Emily was already exhausted. Noah's surgery had been scheduled for weeks. Appendectomy, routine. But surgery is never routine when it's your child. She sat in the waiting area, hands folded, praying to a God she wasn't sure she believed in anymore. Down the hall, Daniel Carter checked in at the ER desk. Chest pains, radiating down his left arm. The nurse took one look at him and fast-tracked him to triage. Stress-induced angina. That's what the doctor would tell him 2 hours later. Not a heart attack, but a warning. Your body telling you to slow down before it makes the choice for you. They put him in a bed, ran tests, told him to wait. So he waited. Noah came out of surgery just after 9, groggy, nauseous. But okay, the surgeon told Emily it went perfectly, no complications. He'd be sore for a week. Back to normal in 2. Emily exhaled for the first time in hours. They moved Noah to a recovery room. Small, curtain partition, 2 beds. Emily sat beside him, held his hand while he drifted in and out of sleep. And that's when she heard it. A voice she hadn't heard in 14 years. Daniel, in the next bed, talking to a nurse, asking about discharge paperwork. Emily's entire body went cold. She looked at Noah, still sleeping, oblivious. She stood, pulled the curtain back just enough to see, and there he was. Older, grayer, thinner than she remembered, but unmistakably him. Daniel looked up. Their eyes met. For a moment neither of them moved. The air in that small recovery room seemed to stop circulating entirely. Daniel's mouth opened, closed. No words came out. Emily didn't give him the chance. Don't. One word, quiet, final. But it was too late. Noah stirred, blinked, tried to focus through the anesthesia haze, and saw him. The strange thing is, Noah recognized him instantly. Not from memory, from photographs, the ones Emily kept in that box. The ones Noah had found when he was 8, studied, memorized, then put away and never looked at again. Daniel saw the recognition in his son's eyes, saw the exact moment Noah understood who was standing 3 feet away. Noah, Daniel's voice cracked, 13 years of silence condensed into 2 syllables. Noah stared at him, face unreadable, then he looked at his mother. Mom? Emily moved between them, instinct, protection. We should go. But Noah didn't move. He kept staring at Daniel, and when he finally spoke, his voice was cold, controlled, older than 13. You don't get to be scared now. Daniel flinched like he'd been slapped. I know I don't. But I am. I'm terrified. Noah, I'm so sorry. Stop. Noah sat up, winced, the incision still fresh. Emily tried to ease him back down, but he shook his head. You don't get to apologize either. You get nothing. Daniel's eyes filled, tears he had no right to cry. Please, just let me explain. Explain what? Where you've been? We know where you've been, not here. Emily put her hand on Noah's shoulder. Sweetheart, you just had surgery. We don't have to do this now. But Noah wasn't done. Did you ever even try? The question hung in the air. Daniel opened his mouth, the rehearsed answer on his tongue, the one he'd been telling himself for years. But Emily spoke first. He stopped replying, after you sent him that message. Daniel's face went blank. What message? Emily's laugh was sharp, bitter. Don't do that. Don't pretend you don't remember. Emily, I swear to God, I don't know what you're talking about. Noah was watching them both now, confused, hurt compounding hurt. Emily pulled out her phone, scrolled, found what she was looking for, an old email, forwarded to herself years ago, preserved like evidence. She read it aloud. Dear Dad, my name is Noah. I'm your son. I'm 9 years old. Mom says you're busy, but I wanted to say hi. I'm in 4th grade. I like science and piano. I hope you're doing good. Maybe we could meet sometime. Love, Noah. The words landed like stones in water, ripples spreading in every direction. Daniel's face drained of color. I never got that. Stop lying. I'm not lying. Emily, I swear I never saw that message. Emily shook her head. Done with this. Done with him. You responded. You said you'd think about it. And then nothing. For 4 years. Nothing. Daniel looked like he was going to be sick. I never responded. I never got it. Then who did? The question stopped them both. Daniel fumbled for his phone, hands shaking, pulled up his old emails, scrolled back, years and years, and found it, an email, sent from his account, 4 years ago, to an address he didn't recognize. Thanks for reaching out. I'll think about it. Sent from his phone, his number, but not by him. Daniel's face went white. Sarah, Emily frowned. Who's Sarah? My girlfriend. She had access to my phone. She must have... The pieces fell into place. Sarah, who had 2 kids, who didn't want complications, who would have seen a message from Daniel's son as exactly that. A complication. She'd responded. Vague enough to seem like Daniel. Cold enough to close the door, then probably deleted the original, changed his number, made sure Noah could never reach out again. Daniel looked at Noah, at Emily, at the wreckage of 13 years built on a lie someone else told. I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know he tried to reach me. Emily stared at him, trying to decide if she believed him, if it even mattered. Noah spoke, quiet, devastated. But you didn't try either. And there it was. The truth underneath the lie. Even if Daniel never got the message, he also never sent one. Never showed up. Never fought to stay in his son's life. The absence wasn't accidental. It was a choice. Daniel realized it in that moment, looking at his son, at the boy who'd grown into a young man without him. For the first time, Daniel understood that his absence wasn't just temporary, wasn't just space, it was permanent. And no revelation, no excuse, no apology could undo 13 years of not being there. The silence in that recovery room stretched until it became unbearable. Daniel stood there, broken, exposed, waiting for his son to say something. Anything. Emily moved toward the door. We should go. But Noah stopped her. Wait. He looked at Daniel, really looked at him, at this stranger who was supposed to be his father. I need to ask you something. Daniel nodded, desperate. Anything. Noah took a breath, steadied himself. Why did you stop trying? Noah, I told you, I didn't know you reached out. That's not what I asked. The interruption was calm, surgical. I asked why you stopped trying, before the message, before Sarah. Before any of that, you saw me twice, then nothing. Why? Daniel opened his mouth. The excuses lined up like soldiers. Work, distance, timing, Emily's anger, the lawyers, the complications. But looking at his son, those excuses turned to ash. I don't know. Yes, you do. Noah's voice was steady, too steady for a 13-year-old who just came out of surgery. You know exactly why. You just don't want to say it. Daniel felt something crack inside his chest, not his heart, something deeper. The foundation he'd built his entire self-image on. I was scared. The words came out barely louder than a whisper. Scared of what? Of failing. Of being a bad father. Of you seeing me the way I saw my own dad. Disappointed. Resentful. I thought if I stayed away, you'd be better off. You'd have a chance to grow up without my failures hanging over you. Noah absorbed this, processed it. So you left to protect me? Daniel heard the trap in the question, but walked into it anyway. Yes. That's not protection, that's cowardice. The word landed like a physical blow. You didn't leave because you thought I'd be better off. You left because it was easier. Easier than showing up and trying and maybe failing. Easier than being uncomfortable, easier than putting me first. Daniel's tears came freely now. You're right. You're absolutely right. Emily watched from the doorway. She'd spent 14 years angry at this man, but standing here, watching him finally crack open, she felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just exhaustion. Noah shifted in the hospital bed. Winced, the pain medication wearing off. I didn't need you to stay forever. I didn't need you to be perfect. I just needed to know I was worth choosing. Even once, even for an hour. Just to know that I mattered enough for you to be uncomfortable. Daniel sobbed, shoulders shaking, face in his hands. You did matter. You do matter. Noah, you're my son. No. The word stopped Daniel cold. I'm Emily's son. I'm the kid she raised alone. I'm the person I became without you. That's who I am. Noah looked at his mother. She was crying too now. Quiet tears. You don't get to claim me now. You don't get to show up at a hospital and cry and suddenly be my dad. I know. I know I don't deserve. This isn't about deserving. Noah's voice was firm, clear. This is about truth. I need you to tell me the truth, not the version that makes you feel better. The real one. Daniel lifted his head, looked at his son. What do you want me to say? Did you think about me? All these years? Did I cross your mind? Daniel could have lied, could have said yes, every day, all the time. But Noah asked for truth. Sometimes, birthdays, holidays, random moments, I'd see a kid that looked about your age and wonder if you looked like that. But then I'd push it away. I'd tell myself you were fine. Better off. That thinking about you only made it harder. Made what harder? Living with myself. The honesty was brutal, ugly, but it was real. Noah nodded slowly. Okay. Okay? That's what I needed. To know it was real. That you actually made these choices. That it wasn't fate or circumstances or bad luck. It was you, choosing yourself. Every single time. Daniel felt the weight of those words, the permanence of them. Can you ever forgive me? Noah considered this. Really considered it. I don't know. Maybe one day. But not today. And not because you finally told the truth. Not because you cried. Not because we had this conversation. Then why? Because forgiveness is mine to give. When I'm ready. If I'm ever ready, it doesn't belong to you. Emily stepped forward, put her hand on Noah's shoulder. We need to go. You need rest. Daniel stood there, lost, unmoored. Can I see you again? When you're feeling better? Can we talk? Noah looked at his mother. She gave the smallest nod. His choice. I don't think so. Please, Noah. You wanted honesty. Here's mine. I don't need you. I don't hate you. I don't spend my time angry at you or wishing you were different. I just don't need you in my life. I'm okay without you. I've always been okay without you. Sometimes the greatest betrayal isn't leaving. It's pretending you had no choice. Daniel had choices. He made them. Every silence, every missed birthday, every year that passed without a phone call. Those were choices. And now Noah was making his. Emily helped Noah into a wheelchair. Hospital policy, even though he could walk. Daniel watched them move toward the door. Emily, she stopped, didn't turn around. Thank you for raising him, for being there, for everything. Emily looked back, her face unreadable. I didn't do it for you. They left. Daniel stood alone in the recovery room, the machines beeping, the fluorescent lights humming. He'd come to the hospital thinking he was having a heart attack. Turned out he was right, just not the kind they could treat with medicine. Outside, Emily wheeled Noah through the automatic doors, the night air cool, cleansing. You okay, sweetheart? Noah looked up at his mother, the woman who'd been enough when she shouldn't have had to be. Yeah, I'm okay. And he was. Not because he got an apology, not because Daniel explained, not because anything was fixed, but because he finally understood something he'd been wondering his whole life. His father's absence had nothing to do with his worth. It only ever revealed his father's fear. Is forgiveness something you owe or something you earn? Noah didn't have the answer yet, but he knew this. Forgiveness without change is just permission to hurt you again. And he wasn't giving anyone that power anymore, not even his father. 3 weeks later, Noah walked out of St. Mary's Hospital for his follow-up appointment. Clean bill of health. Incision healed. No complications. Emily waited by the car, smiled when she saw him. How'd it go? Good. Doc says I'm cleared for everything. Even soccer. Even soccer. They drove home in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes when two people have survived something together. Noah stared out the window, watching the city pass by, thinking about the man in the hospital, the stranger who cried, who apologized, who wanted something Noah didn't have to give. He wondered if Daniel thought about that night, if he regretted telling the truth, if he wished he'd lied, made himself look better. Noah hoped he didn't, because the truth, ugly as it was, set something free. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. Release. Emily glanced at her son, this boy who'd become a young man without a father, who'd learned resilience the hard way, who carried scars that would never fully heal but had chosen not to let them define him. You know you can talk about it if you need to. I know, Mom. And if you ever want to reach out to him, I don't. Emily nodded. She understood. Some doors, once closed, don't need to be reopened. That night, Daniel sat in his apartment. Sarah had moved out 2 days after the hospital, couldn't believe what she'd done. Couldn't believe he was upset about it. I was protecting us, she'd said. You were protecting yourself. She left angry. He didn't care. He looked at his phone. Noah's number. Emily had given it to him before they left. Just in case. Just in case what? Just in case Noah changed his mind. Daniel knew he wouldn't. Some stories don't end with reunion, they end with release. Daniel wasn't the villain in this story, but he wasn't the hero either. He was just a man who made choices, who let fear win, who walked away when staying felt too hard, and now he had to live with that. Noah, meanwhile, was fine. Not fine in the way people say it to avoid talking about pain. Actually fine. He had his mother, he had his friends, he had a future he was building himself. Brick by brick, choice by choice. He didn't need a father who showed up 13 years late asking for credit. He needed what he already had, and that was enough. So here's my question for you. Should Noah have forgiven him? Is honesty enough after years of absence? Does telling the truth erase the damage of staying silent? What about Daniel? Does he deserve a second chance, or did he use up all his chances the moment he stopped trying? And what about Emily? Should she have protected Noah from this confrontation, or did she do the right thing letting him face it head on? I want to know what you think. Comment below, tell me your story. Tell me if you've been Noah, or Daniel, or Emily. Tell me if forgiveness is something you earned or something you're still waiting to receive. I'm reading every single comment, every single one, and if this story moved you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's wrestling with their own version of this story. Because these aren't just stories, these are mirrors, reflections of the choices we make, the people we leave behind, the damage we cause when we choose comfort over courage. And if you want more stories like this, real stories about real people navigating impossible choices, click the video on your screen. Because the next father didn't walk away. He disappeared. And what his daughter found when she went looking for him will change everything you think you know about family, loyalty, and the lies we tell to survive. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.